Hi everyone, Leanne here from Jada Blossom, and I have another fun Halloween card to share with you today. Hey, so I'm using Jada Blossom's Spooky Season stamp set, their Roar stamp set, Fancy Topper die, Monster Munchies, Word Bubble dies, Enchanted Night Sky stencil, Cloud stencil, along with Gnome Dies Graveyard add-ons and our Gnome dies. I'm also using the Monster Mash 12-inch solids and the 6-inch Monster Mash Echo Park paper line, and I put these together on the Gnome Dies Graveyard add-ons assembly video, so check that out. Okay, so first of all, I cut a piece of Neenah Solar White 80-pound cardstock with that Fancy Topper die, and I'm pulling out the Cloud stencil from Jada Blossom and some Lost Shadow Distress Oxide ink, and I'm using a blending brush. There might be some other ink on that blending brush, but I'm not too worried about it. I'm just going to flip these clouds around and work from the top down and add some clouds to this little piece. So just sort of blending as I go down. You know, nothing special. Working on a Wendy Vecchi Make Art Station, which is kind of my favorite. It's easy to clean up. So there we go. And then I will ink blend around the edge just to, you know, make sure it's all uniform looking. And there we go. So there's my cloudy sky. I'm going to clean that up with a little bit of hand sanitizer. Thought I'd leave it in just because, you know, see what I do. Now I'm going to pull out that Enchanted Night Sky stencil, and I'm going to add a few bats to the background. Now, I know that these aren't going to completely show. I'm going to have other images on this background, but, you know, so I'm going to have some in the upper right, working my way down to the lower left. But I'm not going to use that huge swipe of clouds, not clouds, huge swipe of bats. So I only need a few showing. So I'm just going to move a few down, like I said. Now, I do have a couple of black ink smudges. I'm not too worried about that. They'll be covered up basically by my other images. But I'm just going to add a few using Distress Oxide ink and black soot along with the blending brush. And there you go. Okay, so now I am starting out by making an A2 size card base that is 4.25 by 11, scored at 5.5 inches with my Martha Stewart scoreboard and my Teflon bone folder. There we go. I'm working on my Stampin' Up! Pad as per usual. That paper was Paper Tray Ink white cardstock. Now this is some pattern paper from that Monster Mash 6-inch pad. And I'm just going to stick that down to my card front with some Bearly Art glue. That is cut at 1/8 of an inch smaller than an A2 size card front. There we go. So I will line that up. It just has little eyeballs all over it. And I do weight it down with an acrylic block just to make sure it dries flat. Now I'm going to add my little Fancy Topper die. This is perfect for cards, not just to make a topper. There, and I will line that up on my background. So it's kind of fun. And it was an easy background to make, and I do weight it down. Okay, now I did go ahead and cut out some word bubble dies, and I'm going to pull out the Spooky Season stamp set, and I'm going to do some stamp surgery. I'm going to cut off this one, so it'll say "No Me Want Brains," but I'm going to have it on 2 different levels. There we go. Now that paper that was cut out with that word bubble die, that is all solids from the Monster Mash 12-inch solids. I just picked out some solids that will match my 6-inch paper that I put on my background. So I'm going to stamp that No Me Want Brains and some VersaFine Clair Nocturne ink a couple of times using my Misty. There we go. And now I'm going to be stamping onto these other 2 word bubbles that were also cut from those 12-inch matching solids from Echo Park. And I'm going to pull out a sentiment from the RAR stamp set, and it actually says RAR. And underneath I'm going to stamp Nom Nom, which is from that, Monster Munchies is from the Monster Munchies stamp set. And then this one says Nom Nom, also from that RAR stamp set. And I'm going to stamp them all in that same VersaFine Clair Nocturne ink. And there we go. So I'm going to have 3 word bubbles on the front of my card. It's going to kind of become like a design element. There we go. Now remember, you don't want to push too hard and squash your lettering and make the, distort your stamped image. So you're better off stamping multiple times lightly. There we go. So I just sort of remove my stamps and put them off to the side. Now on the inside, I'm going to add a 1-inch strip of paper from that same 6-inch Monster Mash Echo Park pad. So this is just a 1-inch strip. There we go. Kind of fun. I'll trim off the overhang with a pair of scissors. There you go. And I'm going to stamp a couple of sentiments on the inside here as well. You want to do that before you get any kind of dimension on the front of your card. Now I'm going to stamp Happy Halloween. And I'll be using that same VersaFine Clair Nocturne ink. There we go. And it was pretty good, but I do stamp it again just to, make it nice and dark and sharp. And I'm going to stamp one more sentiment from that Monster Munchies stamp set. It says, I only have eyes for you. Just trying to get it as straight as I can. There we go. And I'll stamp that as well. Sort of a play on what I have going on the front of the card. There we go. Okay, so I did cut out those word bubbles in Paper Trink white cardstock as well, just to give it a little bit more sturdiness. So I'm going to layer those all up because I'll be popping up these sentiments and I don't want them to get all wonky. So I like to use, a really thick cardstock to, pop things up with. And that's what I'm going to do. So I'm just going to glue those layers together and weight them down with an acrylic block and using the Bearly Art glue again as well. This was a really easy card. So I'm just going to layer up those layers. There we go. And like I said, I'll weight them down in between just to make sure they, dry really flat. Okay, so this is my design. So I'm going to have my zombie gnome in the lower right-hand corner. Remember, the zombie head of the gnome is sort of like a hat, right? So it's like he's wearing a zombie hat. So that's the kind of look you're going for there. Now his little green face and everything, that is paper from that same Monster Mash Echo Park 12-inch solids. His brain is Doodlebug's Rainbow Petite Prints, Candy Stripe and Sprinkles on the sprinkle side in that kind of light pink. I also used White Daisy pigment ink just to ink around the edges from Close to My Heart. His beard is cut out of Smoky Shadow paper tray ink cardstock, white and black paper tray ink cardstock for the eyes and the teeth. And the little mouth was cut out of white paper tray ink cardstock, but I did use a Copic R29 to color that in. And remember, if you want to watch me put this little gnome together, watch the Gnome Dies Graveyard add-ons assembly video. Okay, so I'm using my reverse tweezers to pop up all my little sentiments. There we go. And I'm using 3M foam tape, just to pop them up nice and evenly, as evenly as I can. And I do glue down that little, I don't know, the little part that kind of looks like it's coming from somebody's mouth. I glue that part down flat because it will be overlapped by my little gnome zombie. So I'm just trying to see where it's going to go. I'll grab a scrap piece of paper and just add some glue to the end of it, and then I'll run it underneath that. It's kind of how I get glue to spots that are hard to get to. Okay, so now I am going to pop up this little gnome, wearing the zombie hat, using the 3M foam tape. And there we go. And then I'll pop them all up with that. Just peel off the release paper, and then we'll have him in place. There we go. Kind of cute, right? So there he is. You can still read what that says. Monster Munchies. And then he's going to be holding an eyeball because, you know, he's on eyeball paper. There we go. And that eyeball was put together on that Gnome Dies Graveyard add-ons assembly video as well. So you can check that out if you want. So I'm just going to pop that up as well, you know, just to keep things all nice and evenly popped up. 3M foam tape is good for this. You know, it's easy to tear, easy to cut, easy to pull the backing off of. It's pretty easy to use. There we go. So isn't that cute? I just think that's adorable. And there we go. Now I'm going to pull out this assortment. It is from close to my heart. I don't know, it's probably retired. It's called Jeepers Creepers. And it has these little kind of puffy eyeball stickers. And I'm going to add some glue because these are a little bit older and I don't want them to fall off my project. And I'm just going to add a few of these little funny eyeballs to my project, here and there. So I'll add a total of 5, you know, just to have an odd number. There we go. Like I said, using glue as well. There is sticky, like they are sticky backed, but I just wouldn't trust them because, like I said, they're older. And you can see that how they've kind of peeled off and moved around the package. There we go. So I'm also going to be putting together one more eyeball for the interior of my card. So I cut that out of white paper tray ink cardstock, black paper tray ink cardstock, and also a green that went with the Echo Park Monster Mash 12-inch solids. I'm going to run some of that Lost Shadow Distress Oxide ink around the edge of that white eyeball just because I'm going to be putting it on a white background. So I'll just quickly put this together using some Bearly Art glue. This is just to decorate the inside of the card. There we go. I'm going to overlap that little pattern paper there and have it in the lower left just for a little bit of fun. There we go. So kind of fun, right? Okay, so now I'm pulling out Studio Katia. They are the Glow Mini Stars, my absolute favorite, and I'm going to add a bunch of them to the background using my Studio Katia embellishment wand to pick them up. There we go. I'm just going to be sticking them down onto these little droplets of glue. That'll dry relatively clear. And these look fabulous in the dark, and I'll show you those in a minute. But I just love these little stars. I love adding them to all my Halloween cards, really. They're so fun. I think it's neat when people don't expect the card to glow in the dark, right? So I'm just adding a bunch of these little stars to my background. And then I will take it to a dark room and show you what it looks like. There we go. So I'm just going to be adding a few more. You know, I kind of go crazy. Okay, here we are. It's Blair Witch. I know it kind of jumps around, but there it is. Look at that. Isn't that fun? So there's the card. And there are your glow-in-the-dark stars. So much fun. So thank you so much for stopping by. Be sure to hop on over to the Jada Blossom blog, Be Inspired by the Team, the Jada Blossom store to get your hands on these amazing products. And thank you as always for watching my videos. I really appreciate it. And come back and watch another one soon. Bye, everybody.